Good evening, comrades, Prinhanda, and welcome once again to The Struggle UK. How you doing? How's it going? How's life treating you? What's up? Yes, it's me again, Councillor James Ball, here at The Struggle UK YouTube channel. Look below in the description box if you'd like to check out my my Twitter and my tweets, and what else? My Instagram, which I don't go on a lot. I should go on it more really, but being what's the word? Home arrested by myself for more than a month now. Not a lot to take pictures of at the minute really, but there's a few up there and a few quite recent ones about what I've been doing around the house in lockdown. Which, wonderful segue, it's Monday night, it's Lockdown UK weekly recap, and it is Monday night, which means it is now April the, hang on, looking at my calendar, April the 20th, is it today? I think April the 20th? Yes, it is. It's April the 20th, which means it is UK lockdown. Week 4 has passed. Today marks week number 4, the end of week number 4 of the UK COVID-19 lockdown. Is it a lockdown? That's the big question, one of the big questions being asked at the moment. Personally, in my opinion, not really a lockdown. People are generally doing what they want to do with not much consequence or which is up to you to decide if that's right or not. But people, I mean, again only today, neighbours not too far from me having another garden party, probably the second or third I've seen in the past week and a half at their place, with family and friends around having their birthday cake and singing happy birthday to one of their family members or friends. People are doing it, aren't they? So don't know where you are in the world or if you're in the UK, but if you're seeing similar things around you, if you're doing similar things. I'm not personally, because if you see any of the past videos, me and my family were having to self-isolate about a week or more before the actual official UK lockdown was called by old BoJo himself, who's been, well, I would say MIA. I would say missing in action, but of course the whole point is, I think, as time goes on here, you can't really be missing in action if you're inactive, and I've been inactive. Yes, it's been another bumper week for BoJo and the Tories. It's been very interesting actually, because over the past week it's been quite evident, reading some of the columns and some of the op-eds and front pages of the usual Tory press in this country, that they seem to have turned against BoJo himself, which can lead, well, doesn't really make sense, because they were killing themselves in December to make sure he was our new PM and Mr. Corbyn was not, and all of a sudden it's gone sort of 360, which leads me to the conclusion, and others to the conclusion, that Mr. Murdoch, who owns those papers, tells them what line they're gonna take, obviously decided he doesn't want to have Mr. BoJo Boris Johnson as PM much longer. And the smart money is on Michael Gove, who popped up yesterday, while Mr. Johnson is, what should we call him? AWOL, absent without leave, should we call it? Yeah. He's been residing for the past week since he was released from St Thomas's after his 3 nights in intensive care, but not receiving intensive care. I know, sounds odd. But ever since then, he spent, I think, the whole week or most of the week recuperating at Checkers. If you don't know what Checkers is, if you live outside the UK or even inside the UK and you've never heard of it, Checkers is a very plush, lovely sort of stately home in vast amounts of lovely English grounds, acres of lovely English sort of countryside and gardens, and it's the sort of one of the perks of being Prime Minister. It's your official residence, basically. So it's a bit like something out of there's a sort of thing Kate and Wills would be given, or you know what they call Harry and Meghan would have been given as a sort of a wedding present or something, that sort of thing. You know, it's not modest. Let's put it that way. So he's there recouping, with I'm sure staff and servants to bring him his lemsip, and he's administer his night nurse and cook his dinner and bring him his eaten mess. Being an old Etonian, of course, Mr. Bullingdon, the Bullingdon boy, the old Bullingdon boy, Bullingdon Club. If you don't know what that is, look it up. You'll be interested, I'm sure, to read all about that. So yeah, he's gone AWOL. Where's BoJo? Where's Wally? He's in Checkers. It's said this morning on one of the channels I was watching here that he's going to spend the third week, or the best part of this week now, the third week, continuing to recuperate from his bout of apparently COVID. So yeah, and that's led to a bit of a vacuum, really. Well, it would have led to a vacuum if we actually had an opposition here, because we don't have any opposition anymore since Sir Starmer was voted in as leader of the Labour Party 2 weeks ago. The Labour Party, with the leadership of Mr. Starmer and help from quite a few others, senior people within Labour, seem to have disappeared right up the backside of the UK Conservative parties, as predicted last week. And last week's week 3 UK lockdown vlog, and just same AWOL, but again we know where he is, which is up some rich people's bums, basically. His sort of mantra appears to be what was it? This isn't about political points scoring. We don't want to make political points here. We don't want to make any of this party political, but we'll criticise where it's needed. I haven't seen any criticism. I've heard no criticism whatsoever from Labour and Keir Starmer and his front bench. While at the same time, this is how odd it is at the minute, watching the Telegraph, the Tory graph, the Financial Times, the Sunday Times yesterday, openly criticising Johnson, openly calling him out. This is how odd it is here at the minute. It's just a bit surreal. And obviously COVID going on, it's very surreal. So that's all been interesting to watch and still going on, still ongoing. What else has happened? I should have done a list. One of my friends told me who watches these that they're a bit too long, so I'm trying to keep it shorter. And I haven't done a list as usual because the day's going. It's about 8 o'clock in the evening now. What else has happened? Well, I'm over in Wales. A lot of the news is for England and NHS England. They still haven't had the PPE. Yesterday and today, the government are shouting on their daily sort of news conference things they do, briefings things, that I can't remember what he said, but something like 83 tonnes of personal protective equipment is imminently about to land on our shores from Turkey to be handed out to the NHS. They're making a big thing of this. Problem is, it's at least 4 weeks after it's been promised to the NHS and the staff and the country. Every single day they're promising it's coming just around the corner. I've started to call Britain Neverland. If you spend any time listening to the Tories' sort of daily press conferences, it's never-ending story, Never Never Land. It's just around the corner. We promise. I mean, a Tory promise is about as useful as a, I don't know, a cat flapping an elephant house, to quote on one of my favourite comedy shows. So yeah, apparently that's going to be here today or tomorrow. But 83 tonnes apparently of PPE is going to last about 2 days for the NHS. It's transpired yesterday again from one of the Tory newspapers. I think it was the Telegraph or the Times or someone. I'm not sure. That Johnson missed or skipped whatever, didn't turn up to 5 emergency cabinet meetings back in January, when we were told about COVID coming our way, along with other European countries and the US and everything, and it basically inferences he didn't take it seriously, wasn't particularly interested. They didn't order the PPE at the time then. They didn't order the ventilators, that we still don't have. We still didn't have the ventilators, again, promised over a month ago by the Tories. Not there, basically. Apparently what they're doing to try and fill the gap in hospitals is actually taking out ventilators that were used in theatre during operations, and they're being plonked into ICU, but they're different types of ventilators. The ones that are in theatre are not meant to be going, for the length of time that a ventilator in ICU would. Because ventilation, I mean, you can be on ventilation for a week, 2 weeks, depending how bad you are, basically. And that's not what these theatre ventilators are designed and made to do. Apparently there's been a handful delivered from all these contracts that were handed out by the Tories to their mates like Mr Dyson. Again, 3 weeks ago or more. So that's all gone, still not happening. Of course, to cover, just like in the US, what Johnson and his government are doing, or his ministers are doing, is, and you can see it in Sky News, if you watch Sky News, and particularly in some of the press, again, the Telegraph, etc. The Mail, the Sun, are saying, the old sort of magician's trick. Don't look here, look over there, look over that way, look at China. It's China. It's all China's fault. There's going to be a reckoning with China, when this is all over. This is all their fault. The old misdirection, basically. Don't know how well that's going to play out, how well it's going to work or not. I don't think it's going to work very well, because I think it seems to be the sort of rolling snowball of criticism of the handling of, which is quite clear to anyone how badly it's been handled. But my question would be, and I think more people are asking this, has this been badly handled by the UK government, or is this actually still their plan from before? Because don't forget, if you were paying attention, right at the beginning, the government's unofficial policy was herd immunity, which is that just let it burn through, let it spread. COVID can just spread through the population, and fine. I think Dominic Cummings said something like, if it kills off some pensioners, fair enough, so be it. And that was their policy. Of course, they got slammed for that when that seemed to be what it was. Quickly appeared to change it and order the ventilators and the PPE and all this sort of stuff, and then have the lockdown and all of that. But 4 weeks into the lockdown, there's still no testing, or very little testing going on. Very, very little. I heard yesterday that at this rate, to test everyone in the UK would take 2 decades. So, if Germany can test as fast as they have, are you telling me we can't? You know what I mean? If was it New Zealand can jump on it the way they have, if South Korea can, are you telling us the UK can't afford to, doesn't have the technology to, doesn't have the infrastructure to, doesn't have the enough people to plan it? It's nonsense. No one's buying that. Nobody buys that crap. coming out from the, it's all there. The government can do whatever they like. They can requisition companies to start making things we need to make here. In America they've got this, is it some sort of Wartime Powers Act or something? We have something like that here. Government, the whole point is they make law. Again, with no opposition, it would go through the House of Parliament like that. Any sort of new laws to sort of start making companies make the things we need here. They can, it's this isn't by mistake, in my humble opinion. This is still the herd immunity policy, just on the quiet, just without it being officially announced. Because if it wasn't, where's the testing? Where are the ventilators? 1,000 people a day dying in the UK of COVID. That's without the deaths that we found out in the past week. Again, that's not counting deaths in care homes, in people's own homes. We've also found out that a lot of people are dying because they're simply not going to the hospital. People with heart problems, people with cancer, all these sort of life-threatening problems where they would usually be in hospital. People aren't going to hospital because they've been told not to, or they don't want to catch, they think they're going to catch COVID if they go. So they're dying at home of these other COVID-related deaths, which aren't being included in the official figures. So the rule of thumb seems to be double what the official figures are just for the deaths in hospital. So if you're talking about 1,000 deaths a day in hospital in the UK, you can double it for a roundabout sort of accurate figure. Gone down slightly in the last few days, I think. We keep hearing about a plateau, and we've reached the peak, the peak of the first wave, and the plateau's been long enough, going on for long enough days on the graph of deaths and things. But still, we're forecast to have at the end of this first wave of COVID, about 20,000 dead because of it in the UK, the highest rate of death in the whole of Europe. Again, that's not really been driven home by our wonderful journalists and media in this country. If it is mentioned, it's in a bit of an offhand way. No sort of context about how it compares with the horrors of Italy we've been hearing about for weeks, and Spain. Is it more than China? Germany's had about 3,000. We've had about 13,000 so far. It looks like we're going to be number 2 in number of deaths. Number 2, second only to the US, which of course has a vastly greater population than the UK. So actually, really, if you average it out and work it out, it's probably a worse, an even worse picture in the UK at the end of this. We'll have to see the numbers in the end anyway. So that's all come out this week. And the deaths that aren't being included in the death statistics. It feels like things really are starting to come to a head as far as the anger over what the government aren't doing. I'm over here in Wales. In Wales today, and I've noticed this during the week, but you have to dig for this. This isn't being put out in Wales. If you live in Wales, you'll hear very little from the actual Welsh government we have here and what's going on here, because we have a Welsh NHS, which is separate from the NHS England, NHS Wales here. There's been nothing here, and I don't think it's through design here. I think it's through sheer incompetence from the government, the Welsh Labour government. The 1 or 2 testing places are down in Cardiff. Well, I'm up in North Wales. Cardiff's down in South Wales. There is nothing up in North Wales, from what I've read, as far as testing sort of facilities or anything like that, or any sort of thing going on in North Wales, or West Wales or Mid Wales. It's all down in Cardiff, and it's 1 or 2 places. One of them's just a car park, basically, with some tents. That's it for the whole of the country. They obviously have no idea what's going on. I think that today said that the target was to test 5,000 people a day in Wales over the past few weeks. They're actually testing about 450, 470 a day. The whole thing's gone completely tits up. It's an absolute botched job. I mean, if you want to talk about negligence, criminal negligence, I can't see what I should call it. So things are possibly even worse in Wales than they are in England, frankly, as far as not having a handle or clue on a clue on what's going on. And the problem is, of course, when the lockdown starts to be phased out here in England, people who weren't stuck in their homes because of the lockdown, but like me and my family and lots of people here, were stuck in their homes already before the official lockdown, because we were self-isolating because of pre-existing medical conditions. Well, if we haven't been tested to see if we've had it or not, or been exposed to it or not, how can we're still going to be locked in, because we can't go out until there's a vaccine ready, basically, and risk catching it, spreading it to one another. My hunch is I've already had it for about a week, from the symptoms I've had for the past sort of 7-8 days, particularly with my breathing. But if I've had it, it's been very mild, so I'm crossing fingers that I've had it and I've had a mild case of it, basically. Or it's just a winter flu-y thing, I don't know. But I don't know, that's the whole point. How can I tell? I haven't got a testing lab in my house and the right test, so we need the government here to do its job, basically. So I'm in the sort of process of trying to find out how to do that and sort of pass on my symptoms and what's been happening here to the government here. I'm not sure what it's like in Northern Ireland. I'm not sure what it's like in Scotland. Not being up there, I get the impression Scotland's got a bit better handle on things than England and Wales. But anyway, I think that's it for now. I can't think of anything else that's particularly happened on. No, not really. I think that's about it, really. But anyway, I'll try to keep it short again today. Like I say, so wherever you are, however you're doing, take care of yourselves. Try and stay sane. And don't forget, because I think it's easy to get with 4 weeks in now, don't forget there will be an end to this. Normal life will resume at some point in the not too distant future, I'm sure. So yeah, you take care, I'll take care, I'll see you next week, possibly before, if there's anything interesting to talk about, and thanks for watching. And oh, please, I keep forgetting to say, please do subscribe if you can. Helps, because I'm trying to build the channel, I'm trying to get it out there a bit more. I love doing these videos, but I've noticed there's not a lot of people watching at the minute, because, politics and things, I don't know, I don't know. But if you'd like to subscribe, if you'd like to share, please do. If you'd like to comment below as you see fit, go ahead, and see you next time.